Pennsylvania Dutch Night Before Christmas, written by Chet Williamson, illustrated by James Rice, and narrated by Douglas Madenford. It was the night before Christmas, and all over the farm nothing was schusslich, no cause for alarm. The socks were all hung by the chimney just so, with the hopes they get filled up from ankle to toe. The nix-nutzes schnoozing without any sound, in their heads clear toy candies been dancing around. And Mama and me, well, we oughtn't to lie it, crawled under the covers and snuggled up tight. Then from the outside we heard something fierce that made open our eyeballs and rattled our ears. There was crashing and banging, and could it be true? Did our ears deceive us, or was that a moo? Then off to the window we ran in the dark, kicked the dog accidental, he started to bark. When we looked through the window, coming in through the gate, it wasn't one moor, we saw it was 8. 4 cars and 4 steers. They were harnessed somehow, and were dragging behind them an old-fashioned plough. And there, just behind it, as sour as a pickle, was a fellow we knew had to be the Belschnigel. He wiggled that plough to keep going on course. I think he'd done better if he had a horse. So dopplich, so slow, those 8 dummers did run, and he growled and he grumbled and yelled at each one. Not Chaggy, not Beggy, not Rachel, Josiah, on Menno, on Sarah, Esther, Obadiah. And watch where you're going, says nothing unwiser than stamping your hoofs into stray fertilizer. They got through the barnyard without any hitch, and the Belschnickel grumbled and raised a big switch. Climb up on that roof now, and you make it snappy. You don't want to make me no more unhappy. Macht auf on that trellis, then to the porch roof, and don't get no ivy vines caught up in your hoof. I'll get awful grishly if you make me fall. So clamber up, clamber up, clamber up all. Like the chickens all look when to flies are trying, or the mess kids are making when shoes they are tying. So clumsy they climbed up an inch with each moo. But somehow they made it, and it wonders me too. And then with a twinkle we heard on the roof each car that was rutching round, stamping its hoof. The cracks of the roof timbers filled all our ears, 'cause it just wasn't built for 4 cars and 4 steers. By now all the kiddies had run in our room, frightened by all of those cracks and those booms. To tell them what happened I was going to begin, when chumpin' chee suey, the ceiling fell in. Down came the Belschnickel plop in our bed, a few shingles making down right on his head. And when we looked up through the hole in the ceiling, it was just a little bit worried we're feeling. For there overhead was that 8 head of cattle, still stomping so hard that it made the walls rattle. We felt as if we'd all been cursed and verhexed, and that cars would fall down into our bedroom next. But they on the roof stayed, and I wiped away sweat, then looked at that scary old Belschnigel yet. He had got to his feet and was brushing his breeches, holding his sack and using his switches. He was dressed all in black from his toes to his hat, and he frowned and said, "Hey, what are you looking at? Ain't you never seen no Belschnickel before?" Well, I had, but the others had come in through the door. His beard was all strubbly, as white as snowfall, and his belly so skinny, it nearly was all. I couldn't help thinking that this crappy guy could use a few dumplings and some shoe-fly pie. His eyes, they looked angry, but though they seemed wild, when he looked at the kiddies, he just sort of smiled. Then he wiped it away like he'd made a mistake, or for him some schnitzengnepp Mama should make. Then he asked all the kiddies, "Have you been bad or sweet? If it's good that you've been, then I'll give you a treat. But if you've been bad, then I'll warm your britches with one of my special bad kitty switches." They said they'd been good and were telling the truth. Still he glowered at Amos, he grimaced at Ruth. He frowned down at Abner, who just kinda grinned, and the Belschnickel leaned on and tickled his chin. "Ach, crabby I might seem, but don't you forget, I ain't never had to spank no fun kitty yet. It just must be something around in the air, makes the kitties act better at this time of year." So his switches he dropped and he opened his sack, and he handed out oranges, yo-yos, and chacks, a dolly for Ruth and a wood horse for Amos. We laughed as we watched him, and who could blame us? And finally he gave to Abner a teddy. With that final gift, to leave he was ready. But he said as he crawled over shingles and sticks, "I'll send over Stoltzfoots your broke roof to fix." Then he climbed the hole through up to his waiting plow, and he yelled to his livestock, "Get going and gnaw!" Down to the ground and without no complaint, until we get done and the hosses all ain't. They sprung off the roof to the yard way below, where they got stuck in near 40 inches of snow. And that Belschnickel yelled, brushing snow off his head, "Merry Christmas to all, now just go back to bed."